Well, let me begin by saying that I've known Farouk for, I think, close to 20 years now, and it's indeed a pleasure to receive the award from him and especially from this organization. My wife, Marie, and I are frankly humbled to be with you here tonight. It really is an honor, and I'd just like Marie to stand for a minute and be recognized because she's done so much work with me on these issues. And Let me also say 35 years is quite a tenure for Refugees International. And for many of you that are in this audience that help keep this organization going, I just wanted to share with you that it is really amazing work that you've undertaken in the international arena, helping keep a voice out there for people that otherwise would not have a voice at all, and making that a priority here in Washington, D.C. Marie and I always talk about the power of information, the impressive on-the-ground reporting that Refugees International does from refugee camps around the globe is a very important tool that I think policymakers, frankly, use to make very important decisions. And as you know, when the situation on the ground is dangerous, often governments pull out. They pull out their personnel, and without eyes and ears on the ground, making those policy decisions is nearly impossible. And that's where Refugees International fills that knowledge gap, because frankly, your volunteers go in when few dare to do so. And from the Central African Republic to the South Sudan to Syria, we are faced with depressingly high levels of refugees. And, frankly, refugees didn't choose to find themselves in this situation. They're actually caught in the crosshairs between belligerents. They are the tragic and the collateral victims of a conflict that they themselves are no party to. And what's more touching is when we think about the life they left behind, the homes, the farms, the schools, the workplaces, they ultimately flee with what they can carry on their back and what they can hold in their arms. And there aren't many worse states for a human being to be in than that type of situation. And you've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand on a number of my visits, and one particularly striking memory I have is a visit to Int'l in Darfur, a town cleared out by a bombing campaign. Entire villages just flattened, and communities left with nothing. And then you run into the survivors, and you hear their stories. And when we think about the crises in front of us today, we must ensure that the well-being of those displaced are a priority. We have to make it a priority because the 9 million Syrians, the 3 million Congolese today, the 2 million Sudanese, the 1 million souls from the Central African Republic that are currently displaced, sadly don't have a voice to influence those decisions, but you have that voice and you make that heard. And I believe it is a moral obligation to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. And frankly, to use my position as chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee to do that is an honor. It's a responsibility. And I recently went on record in a letter to the Budget Committee questioning cuts to the accounts that are vital to support refugees around the world. And I would just share with you that regarding the Central African Republic and South Sudan, I've sent letters and held hearings on how the refugee crisis from these conflicts have devastating consequences for the region, and that any peace plans or resolution mechanisms must include participation from those refugee communities And just this morning, the committee passed legislation that I authored that calls for greater humanitarian assistance for displaced populations in Syria, and we also called for the creation of a special war crimes court to bring some justice to Syria. So I would just share with you that with millions and millions of displaced around the world, protecting the interests of refugees is a Herculean task, but it is a Herculean task that those in this room have shown themselves up to over the last 35 years. I just wanted to commend you all tonight because, frankly, those of you supporting this work are the ones that should be recognized. And I just want to acknowledge tonight that what you do is affecting the fate of millions. And I want to just conclude by encouraging all of you, please keep it up. Thank you all very much.